Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Corner. Today is the last episode of 2022. Time really flies, and a lot of things have happened to me this year. So I kind of want to do a quick wrap up and see what I've done and what I've achieved and what I could have done better in this video. Anyway, and a lot of you have probably known that a huge thing had just happened to me, and that's why I haven't been uploading videos for a long time. I missed this, and of course, I said this is my channel, this is my man cave or women cave that I can't actually escape from the reality and be myself, but I haven't been able to do so for a while. I sometimes feel like I really miss it, and sometimes I feel like, well, it's a lot of work to set up everything. And I managed to do episode today before New Year. Yes. As you all know, I just had my baby and I've received so many comments. Thank you so much for all the lovely and warm wishes and blessing. I am so happy and also very touched. And you know how hormones work. I don't know if you can hear him. How hormones work. And of course, when I saw those comments, I got tears right away. Thank you so much for all the lovely comments. I really, really appreciate it. And I feel so blessed that I have all you guys there be part of my journey. Yes. So let's start from the beginning of 2022. I actually, a little bit further, a little bit further than that. So last year in November, the end of November, I found out I was pregnant, and I kept a kind of secret because, I'm always a low-key person. So that was almost the end of the school year, and I didn't want to make a big fuss. And then during Christmas, I told my parents-in-law, and I gave them a card. I told my parents-in-law that I was pregnant. They were going to be grandparents. They were very happy. They got tears too. And unfortunately, it didn't really go well. In January, the beginning of 2022, I went to emergency and spent hours there, and I found out I had a miscarriage. Not the funny thing, but back then, the doctor said, well, a 99% it was a miscarriage and you're going to lose the baby. It was probably like about 8 weeks. I wasn't really sure how I felt about it. And I don't know if you know me, I'm never a person who likes kids. I don't like kids. I still don't like kids. So it was very tough for me to make a decision to have a kid for myself. So anyway, I lost that baby in January, beginning of January, and I was not sad, but I feel more complicated about whether, it was a good thing or not good thing, but I guess it's a natural decision that, he decided or she decided to leave me. And in March, fortunately, I found out I was pregnant. Sorry, very distracting when he's cooing there. So in March, I found out I was pregnant. I was very happy because I don't know, sometimes it's like, for me, I have to decide whether I want it or not. It cannot be like I was told that I cannot have a kid or something like that. Well, kind of weird of me. So I was pregnant and found out that, but back then I was still doing my temporary position there, and I was really unsure about the situation because when your job is not very stable and you don't really have benefits, a lot of things can happen. I really don't want my kid to go through all the hassle. That is why I wasn't really unsure, but I felt blessed to have him back then. And in May, I was told there was going to be in a permanent position out there, and I was kind of scared because I didn't tell anyone I was pregnant, but I still wanted the position. So of course I went for it, did the interview, got the position. Luckily, I was enrolled in September and I started my benefits and pension. I was able to have all my health care and dental care covered through the school insurance provider. And of course, my kid is part of that too. So I feel like I was quite lucky that he decided to choose me as a mom in a good timing, and I was able to manage everything and have him. And of course, the first 3 months was kind of a nightmare because I could not eat and smell anything. And I once hated my neighbor because they cooked Indian food. I love Indian food, but back then I just could not smell any spices. My morning sickness was really bad. I actually lost the weight for the first 3 months. And after that, I had my most comfortable moment, which is the second trimester. And I felt like, oh, if pregnancy was like this, I could do one more. Of course, I was being too naive, and my third trimester was a little bit tough for me. I started to have a lot of pain, and I was still working back then till almost the last week before the due date. So yeah, and everyone was so nice to me, and I really felt lucky that all my friends, all you guys there, all my colleagues, they're very, very sweet and kind and supportive. Whenever I needed help, they're always there to help me. And I think it was almost the last week, the day before they went on strike. Those educational workers, they went on strike. So they secretly threw me a baby shower party. I didn't know. I was still working. I was talking to my students after class time, trying to manage everything. And then I got a phone call from a doctor talking about my gestational diabetes. And I was talking about like how I should control them. And, I was on diet control. I didn't take any medication. And then they were talking about a lot of things. And I don't know why. And everybody was like on me, trying to get me out of the classroom. I was like, okay, I'm already stressed enough. Why are you staring at me? Just leave me alone. Until last minute, I hung up the phone. And my friend slash colleague, she came to me. She said, come on, you gotta go to see Catherine. She needs to talk to you. And right away, my personality, I thought I did something wrong. And that's why she wanted to see me. She wanted to talk to me. I was so panicked and went to her office. And I was like, oh, why the door was closed? And why was that so dark? So they opened the door and they said, congratulations. And I thought, it's not my birthday. Why are you doing that? Of course, when you're pregnant and you have baby brain, you just really can't think straight and can't think through everything. So they threw a really nice baby shower party for me, and they had a cake and had all the gifts. They were doing videos, everything. I do have pictures, and I do look not very presentable, but yeah, that's when I got really puffed up and I just looked really ugly back then. Anyway, so I was crying and I couldn't believe how nice they were. So that was November. Then I took my mat leave in last week of November, and I started to get everything ready. And because my gestational diabetes, I had to do induction. I could not wait until the due date, so they had to put a lot of things on me to do that. And then I was told, okay, so you're gonna have the baby in this week. I was like, oh wow, I only have 1 week left, and nobody told me that, or I missed any kind of information. And then that just happened because I was on epidural, so the pain was kind of manageable, but of course, I wouldn't want to go through that again. Definitely not. Anyway, then I had him and I posted pictures and I got a lot of comments. So that is a very major thing happened to me this year. Career-wise, I finally got my permanent position. I've talked about this many times in last few videos. You probably noticed that. I was very lucky that my school is very supportive, and they, of course, cannot not hire you based on your condition, situation, or something. But when they knew I was pregnant, they were like, don't worry about that, nothing to do with that, because you're good. You ranked, like I was ranking number 1 during interview, so they hired me with no hesitation. I said, you're just good, we want you. And I started my position there. And fortunately, I was doing online virtual classes, but I still had to go to school, but I was doing virtual classes. I was very lucky about that because back then with my big belly, I didn't want to get too close to anyone because of COVID, right? So that was such a good thing. And then my husband switched to a different career as well, and we were able to work together. That made me very happy because I don't have to drive. My driving is really bad. Anyway, so that is the thing. Not a lot happened other than having a baby, and of course, I have been very overwhelmed by how difficult and challenging having a baby. So I've been thinking a lot. If you don't, if you are the kind of person you wants to be a mom, that would be a good thing to do. Or you have a really good partner, your partner is very supportive, they'll help you a lot. Then having a kid is definitely a very happy thing. But if you're just having a kid because you have to, well, you're gonna hate the kid. So to be quite honest. Anyway, so I barely got any sleep since December 9th. I barely. So I may look really puffed up today, but bear that with me. Another thing I want to talk about is how my mindset has changed. I used to be very strict with a lot of things. I feel like if you work with me or if you live with me, a lot of things you have to follow in a certain way because this is how I do things. That, of course, drive everybody nuts, and even myself, right? So I constantly felt stressed and anxious about people are not following my way to do things. But since I don't know if that's because of hormones or something else. I started to become a little bit more relaxed, more laid back. And I feel a lot of things, as long as it's not going to threaten your life or it's not going to hurt you, harm you, it really doesn't matter, there are certain things, of course, you want to stick to it. And there are certain things that really, what would that do to you? So that's how I changed to a different mindset. And that made my life so much easier. I started to feel like I'm softer, I'm more relaxed, and I'm more gentle to myself. It's hard to explain why that happened, but that happened to me, and I feel definitely very happy and comfortable. Another thing is about, I talked about this in the previous video, a relationship between mother and daughter. And some of the comments says, well, I'm a mother and now I understand why my mother treated me like that or something like this. Back then when I saw the comments, I thought, okay, once I become mom, maybe I will understand why my mom did that to me. But to be quite honest, I still don't understand why, and I still can't figure out a way to get along with my parents, my mom. I think becoming a mom is a thing, but definitely is not going to change or is not going to solve the problem about the relationship. And plus, I don't really feel like being a mom now, and I don't really have much love for him. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. So my parents, of course, were very happy about the grandchild and they wanted to come here. I sometimes wish they could come here to help me out just because, we didn't really have anyone here and we're basically taking care of the kid by ourselves. It was very tough. And as a mom, a lot of things you're just naturally going to do it by yourself because Mother Nature, right? There's no one can help you. However, sometimes I felt if my parents come here, I'm going to definitely have a depression. It's just the way we think, the way we do things are totally different. And they always want to change me. I always want to be myself. So they're going to be like, I'm brainwashed, things like that. It's hard to cooperate with someone who doesn't have similar values, habits, or routine. So I'm very for that part, I just feel like very complicated. I want them to come here, but I don't want them to come here. With the COVID restrictions, everything, I feel it might be a good thing for them to not come just for my mental health. Anyway, so those are the things. I feel like I've been talking about a lot of things about my pregnancy, and like, baby, pardon me for that. And I just could not remember anything. Well, baby brain death effort to you. Other than mother and daughter relationship, of course, romantic relationship is another big thing that I discovered, and I'm very, very lucky that my husband is very supportive and understanding. I think he is my best of friend. He's not only my partner; he's also my best of friend. There are a lot of things I want to talk about. I'm gonna just go to him and talk about things, and he totally understands. He offers me a lot of help and support, physically and mentally. So that's when I felt like, I got someone. However, after you have a kid, it is really difficult for. It's not like he doesn't understand, but sometimes he forgets that. As a guy, I wish I could be a guy. As a guy, there's things that he's not able to do it for me. But then he forgets, and then of course the hormones are acting out, and then I start to feel like lonely, start to feel helpless. I've been crying almost every day. To be quite honest, every time when I see some videos posts on social media, and they're all having like angel babies, that are having a lovely relationship, or how wonderful their kids are, I just felt super anxious, like, oh, what kind of hell I've been through, and why is he not sleeping, why am I not getting enough sleep? And I totally feel like I'm not myself anymore, and I don't know when I can feel myself. I just can't see the light in the end of the tunnel. Another thing is my ambition. Yes. I feel I used to be very ambitious. I want to achieve a lot of things, and I was eager to learn, eager to do more, and eager to become better. But because the whole situation with how my body has changed, how my hormones have worked for me, I feel like I become very lazy at a lot of things. I feel like it doesn't really matter anymore as long as I can manage my life. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because sometimes when you are not very productive, you just feel very anxious. You feel like left behind. You don't want to be the worst person in the world. Of course, you're not, but then you just feel like you're not moving forward. What if one day you are not as good as you were before, and you realize that, and then you can't catch up with yourself? And that is something I started to think about occasionally. But you know what? I still don't have an answer for that. And of course, a lot of my habits and my hobbies, I forgot about them. I started to not read for a while, and I just couldn't pick up any book. I was trying to, but just could not. And movies, I could not focus on movies and TV shows, things like that. It really feels like a lot of things have happened in 2022, but then I don't feel like there are a lot of things that happened to me in 2022, if you know what I mean. Whole body has changed, let's say that, and my spirit has changed, and a lot of things just are not as same as before, and I am trying my best to adjust to it. I guess it's about decision. It's about decision. I made a lot of decisions. Some decisions I'm willing to. Some decisions I was kind of more like a push to make. And what I want to say is, of course, making decisions is very difficult, because when you make a decision, you of course are going to have consequences. Can be good, can be bad. You're never going to be able to predict whether the positive aspects overweigh the negative aspects, right? And you always want to kind of like optimize the results. But things are not to go as planned, as always. And then you freak out, and then you start to being like, I don't want to make a decision. So for me, 2022 is definitely a year of making decisions. Making decision of having a baby, which is a huge responsibility. Making decision of moving forward. Making decision of letting things go. That is very hard. I probably mentioned this before. I was writing a journal article with my ex supervisor. It was very challenging for me doing so during pregnancy because, I just think about that a lot. And I was not good at dealing with comments. I've received editors' comments. They were like a super massive and a comprehensive. It took me very long time to fix a lot of things to the point I feel like I used to be like I want to become a researcher, but now I feel like I may not be a researcher material. I just don't know how to handle that. And I kind of gave up that part. It was very difficult for me uh, because I just feel like if I gave up, then I'm such a loser. But I start to think about maybe there's things that are more important than the things you're doing right now. Maybe it's meant to be like that. Maybe there's a sign that you just need to do your best and then let it go. So that was very hard for me, but I kind of learned, well, if this is my decision, if I decide to let it go, then I'm going to have to accept the consequence that I may not be able to become a outstanding person, outstanding researcher. I may not be able to have my own article or things like that. But if I don't want to let it go, then I have to accept that I'm going to have to work really hard. I have to spend nights to figure out things, which one I want to do. So that kind of things I've learned that you just have to make a decision. And finally, I decided I will do my best, and whether it's going to be accepted or not, it's out of my hands, right? So not up to me. Having a baby, the decision is I was not really sure, kind of sometimes sure, sometimes not. My parents were very affirmative about having baby, very traditional Chinese family. So my parents-in-laws, they of course wanted grandchild, but they never said anything. They were not very pushy, and I really appreciate that. So I sometimes felt like, if possible, I probably wouldn't want to have a kid, just because, it's just me. But the decision it has been made, and I felt like, well, if this is, again, it's about responsibility. If you decided this is what you're going to do, then you're going to have to do your best to take care of everything and make it happen. Huge decision for me. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, why did I do that? Sometimes feel like I'm such an adult. I have to be responsible for my decisions, and I am doing my best for that part. And another thing is to take care of my mental health. And also that's another a decision I've made when it comes to mental health. And as I mentioned before, in my previous job, I was always very kind of on the routine, on the instructions. Everybody had to follow a certain way to do it. But now I made a decision. It's just a job. Doesn't matter how much I love it. It's just a job. You're doing the job. You're doing the best. You're trying to find the moments that are rewarding for yourself so you can keep going. But there are moments that you're going to be like, you know what? It is a job. You can't force everybody to do it, especially when my students are all adults. I just can't force them to do whatever, right? So they have to be responsible for their own actions or decisions. So I learned that part, and it was very hard for me to let go of it, of course. But sometimes I had have to tell myself, it is okay. It's not your business. So that is it. And also, I'm very lucky that I made a very good friend who has been very, very supportive for everything. She just lives kind of like a block away from me, 5 minutes walk. My coworker, and we became friends. I never thought about that. I told her that I was so craving beer during my pregnancy, and she said, I would definitely get you something after you gave birth. And then she came by and dropped me a case of Stella. Stella is my favorite beer, in front of the door. Didn't knock, didn't want to interrupt me because I have a little one there. Very, very nice of her. And I felt like sometimes, I might be very antisocial, but it is good to make connections with other people for your own goodness. So, that's a good decision to make. For 2023, and I'm going to spend basically a whole year for my mat leave. I'm sure that's going to be the case. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I would change or not, but definitely I want to continue with this video thing. To be quite honest, I've been very depressed since then, but now started to talk about things in front of camera, in front of you guys. I already feel a little bit better. I already feel like I'm back to myself. So I really enjoy that moment. And of course, this thing will continue as he grows bigger, and maybe life will be a little bit easier. The only thing I can imagine of. Anyway, another thing is, well, I kind of just talking about nonsense, and the topic has been all over the place. Anyway, so Bob, I have been feeling very guilty about Bob. I know before him, Bob is my number one. I love him so much. I can feel the love. And if someone hurts him, I'm going to fight. But since I had him when I came home from hospital, I'm new. I'm trying to manage everything, but it is very hard with the little one. And I just don't have much energy and focus on Bob. And I feel like he's being very sad that I can't play with him because of my, my stitches and my wound. I wasn't myself for a very long time. I didn't have enough energy to play with him. And it makes that it's super cold outside, and because of him, I'm doing breastfeeding. Of course, that means I lost a part of my freedom. I can't really go hang out with Bob or walk him or take him to his friends. That made me very sad. But he's being super lovely and sweet and nice. He's definitely a good big brother. And that makes me even feel worse because he's been really good for me, but I can't do much for him. And sometimes when I look at his face, I started to cry, of course. I would just blame that on hormones. Anyway, everyone is adjusting the roles in the house and including him. And yeah, I'm just, never mind. I don't want to talk about that. And then I got a little bit emotional. Yeah, so that is my 2022. Tell me and share with me about your 2022. What happened? You have ups and downs. What have you learned or what you want to do? For 2023, my goal is to become myself again. I want to be able to do more for myself other than taking care of a kid. My goal is I don't really have a goal. I don't even know if I have a resolution for 2023. But so far, what I can think of is get back to my normal weight and get back to my normal routine, and I start to become a super mom, and of course love Bob as always. And that's pretty much everything. So hope you like this episode, and of course it's been very chatty nonsense, no focus at all, but I hope you still like it. Anyway, Happy New Year, and I'll see you soon. Bye.